Hello, everybody. It's our first Thursday back from Gen Con, which was an excellent show. We had a lot of fun and met a lot of new friends. And it was a very good time. Many fans of the Adventure Game Engine, and that's always nice. Hey, Michael and Chad, good to see you. Tempo's here too. Looks like Tempo's building up some of that chat XP. You know, our creative collaboration series continues, and we'll get into, if you're just tuning in and you're unfamiliar with what all this means, but what it means is that we get to hang out with our good friends, the Duke and Purple, who today had a bit of a migraine, and I'm not sure if you suffer migraines, but I do, and boy, when they hit, you're down for the count. But we also have Ren LeBeau, who's hanging out with us.
Hi, friends.
Hi, Ren. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm doing okay today.
Yeah, well, good. And, I'm glad that in a world filled with chaos, we can work together, to build a world filled with chaos. The difference being, of course, it's our own world. Let me see here. I need to do. Hey, first, before I almost forgot, we've got a release event coming up on the 23rd of August. Not very far away, just a couple weeks. And it's the third issue of Engine, the age role-playing game magazine. And in it, we reveal Sage, which I don't want to get too much into it, but it's another way to play, powered by the Adventure Game Engine. We're going to have all of the authors who have contributed to this number 3, and it's going to be gangbusters. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're hoping you can join us. So save the date. More details and event links and things to come, but I just wanted to make sure you had this on your radar. Hi, Duke. Yeah, Duke's hanging out with us in spirit and in chat. But when you've got migraine, you kind of want to just sort of be in a dark place, which I appreciate. Let's see if we've done this. There we go. Why don't we do this too? We will turn on your face. There you are.
Hey. Hello, everybody.
So our collaboration continues, and for just to kind of catch people up, I'm calling it. This is all a work in progress. Names and things may change, and premises and stuff pretty much baked in. As what we've done is originally we were getting together and we were going to talk about the fact that I wanted to create a battle map. I just wanted to have the experience. I'm a nerd for maps. I want to, I had bought a bunch
Maps
of. Maps are really fun. I bought a bunch of map brushes for Photoshop, and
okay.
and we got together and started talking about it, and it morphed from a battle map, with a kaiju involved, to a whole world where it's basically a giant, colossal, slumbering dragon, so immense that entire civilizations have been built upon and within its body. And this dragon, of course, has somehow either crashed or something happened that it is embedded into the crust of a big planet. So that's what we're in the midst of. And the thing is, Ren, you know this. We're of course collaborating on this, but there's another collaborator involved with this whole process.
That's right.
That's right. It's the folks in chat. And it's true. That's you, Michael in chat, who says, I like this. It's been stewing for 2 weeks in my brain gravy.
Ooh,
I like that.
all right.
the brain gravies, some of my favorite gravy,
It's always better the
and
second day, right?
it really is. Yeah, yeah. If only I ever had leftovers, I tend to eat it all. Um, so now the way that we did this is we're working with two cities, one that's on the back of the dragon, icy spires, and it's sort of a up in the mountains, and one that's kind of
Mhm,
in the mouth of the dragon, essentially, kind of a humid,
mhm.
tropical place almost. But two very different cities with different cultural sensibilities and social constructs. And you own one of those cities, right?
I'm adding little bits here and there to Etheria, the
The
frozen
ice
city,
spires world.
on the
Yeah.
yes, on the spine of the dragon.
Which I love the concept, and having put the concept actually kind of originated just from you. I drew the inspiration and kind of put some stuff together, which
Mhm,
again, I chose some names and some things that came out of my creative place, but really the city, writ large is yours, to kind of do with and adjust and change as you please. And we thought today might be a fun time to sort of talk about populating that city and the
yes.
social structures therein, and to get some of your design sensibilities around how to get that done.
City's only gonna be as fun as the people who live there.
Right? Fun, harrowing,
Well,
interesting at the very
fun,
least. Yeah, right.
fun vicariously for the folks who get to sit around a table.
Exactly, exactly. And so that's ultimately what we're doing. And today,
Mhm,
thinking about, we know that there are some fundamental social structures that exist already, right? I
yes.
think we've got what have we got? Help me out here. I think there's a
Yeah.
kind of
Here in
a council.
Etheria,
Yeah.
we've got a council. We've got we've got the glacier farms. We've got the
Mm,
daredevil suspension bridges, the wens between all of
ooh,
the peaks in different parts of the city.
I love
Uh,
that.
we got we got mines that plunge down into the spine of the dine and the scales of the dragon. Um,
Ooh,
let's see, we've got a couple of political groups, including the old families, the Chine clan councils, or the Chine clans council. Pardon me.
yeah.
We've got the magical order, called the Puna, who are the
Okay.
folks who actually do the stargazing for divination reasons.
Ooh, I like it.
Uh, and you know, because every civilization is going to have its disaffected, we've got the Deep Frost Cartel.
Oh, of course, because you have to. I mean,
See, oh yeah, black
what
market
is
traders and
civilization?
smugglers and
Yeah,
uh, people
I
who
like it.
smuggle in all those goods from you know, the sweaty people down south.
Okay, so I like that as a premise. That one of the insults, the
Hmm.
people that live within Etheria will use in reference to the folks who live in the other city, uh, call them the sweaty ones.
Hmm.
Percent of their city
Or
being
maybe,
foreign.
like, just sweaty could just be, like, sort of a pejorative way to say something from down south or off the mountain.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, yeah. It does sort of suggest a sort of lackadaisical, perhaps, just people lounging
Mhm,
about, and being, you know, generally sweaty in the maw of the mouth of this dragon. So okay, so I love this. Now, and I'm glad that you brought up some of the sort of
mhm,
physical mechanics of the space, because if you have mines, you need miners, and I'd
mhm.
imagine that, there would be a group of people working just as hard to maintain these, kind of precarious walkways and things. That what did we call it? It was called the sorry,
The
I'm looking at my
Wends.
notes. The Wens, so these sort of suspension bridges that are kind of
Mhm.
woven together. And
They need
it's
people who are good at building bridges and, checking to make sure that those bridges aren't gonna snap when people are walking across them.
That's right, with some very specialized knowledge of how to maintain them and maybe, how to undo them should there be a need, So yes,
Mhm.
it's a serious sweaty. I love
I'm gonna
this.
write that down real quick. Let's see, what is it? I'm gonna put it in the cultural norms.
That's great. Now, Michael and Chat adds bridges and gondolas, but gondolas kind of float on a water kind of thing, right? This is more of an aerial kind of thing, but do you imagine that there would be kind of a mechanism like I'm reminded or I'm inspired by
Mhm.
Aang from
Last
uh,
Airbender?
yeah, you know how he has that kind of stick that he can turn into a glider?
Yes, the air nomads did a lot of, gliding by using wind magic to get around, which we could absolutely still do here. Winds of Flight is a master level air spell, and there's no reason that maybe there couldn't and, if you got all these big peaks and you got all these high winds, you really just gotta you just gotta jump and catch a good gust, um,
Yeah, right. I would
and then
imagine
figure out the
too.
landing part, without, splatting right into the side of a mountain, so it could be either, a very dangerous job. I mean, it's very dangerous job. Probably either has very specialized folks who do it, or, yeah, depending on how
Oh, I
dark we wanna
see.
go with this,
You know,
perhaps
I
it's something of a punitive job.
Yeah, yeah, one a really risky one
Mhm,
that, maybe there is a group of folks that do that, but then, I'm reminded by both Michael and Paul that a gondola is also like a ski lift, like, you kinda hop in and it's got a
mhm,
little covering and that so I could see something like that too, a tram of some
mhm.
sort. Angel Arroyos to sky trams. Are there giant animal, carriage rides? That's interesting.
Yeah.
We haven't really
I think you actually did write down that, originally that there are, giant flighting and then maybe not carriages, but there are trained mounts that will take people between peaks.
Yeah, one of the things that I left sort of a little bit. Well, 99.9% just outside of the idea
Mhm.
itself is that we create some creatures that would kind of live
Mhm.
in both spaces, that have grown accustomed to over time have kind of developed into
Mhm.
these creatures that you would expect to find in places like
For sure.
this. Uh, yeah, and so a couple of interesting things that happen in Etheria. So we've got
Mhm.
just culturally, they are very physically hardy. They have, they're they're kind of about strength and power. Like they don't enjoy the notion of sort of lounging about and the weakness of sort of if
Mhm.
you've got time to lean, you got time to clean. I guess they also have
That,
like
toil makes the soul pure or something. That,
yes, I love that. Yeah,
that you've done that, that there's no substitute for a good hard day's work.
and in their case, the hard work means they live another day. You know what I mean? It's like they're
Correct.
really
Yep.
fighting against the elements and
It's a real
believe that.
harsh place to be, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta be harsh sometimes.
exactly, and they've thrived there in this space, and
Mhm.
so they've also have like so I wrote this down, and again, this is all subject to adjustment and change based on Ren's view of these pieces, but they're ritualistic
Mhm.
contests. And we talked
Yes.
about the icicle trials. I just envisioned this whether it was like an obstacle course or having to get one thing to another place and it being symbolic of the struggle that
Mhm.
particular culture may come up against
Ooh.
and that they also aren't all work and no play that they
Mhm.
have the
For
Spire
sure.
Festival, yeah, and that's a time for to enjoy the space and be thankful to the resilience of the people that live there, that kind of thing. And um,
Mhm.
And so when you think about so when you're populating, I'm curious, so thinking about the world that you developed that you're publishing through the Age
Mhm.
Creators Alliance, did you start with did you populate a land mass that you kind of had a vision for, or did you think of kind of a type of social structure that you then brought to a land? Like how did that process come about for you?
It was different for a lot of the individual locations. Several of them I tried to pick since this is my setting is very, the tagline is elemental fantasy action because I really enjoy the sort of the fun excitement of sort of an elemental system, because it can be very colorful, and there's a lot of immediate buy-in because a lot of folks have, played games where you cast spells of different elemental types and that they work on better on some monsters than other, and so a lot of folks have played Pokemon, so there's a lot of buy-in for that right away.
Yeah.
Um, and for some of those locations, I would pick one of the elements that would be sort of culturally most important to the people who live there, and what that would do, and what that would how that would sort of inform how the people there grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense to me. And so it's not so we're not terribly off the mark, having kind of developed a
Mhm.
bit of the, sort of the landscape of it all.
Yeah,
But it's interesting. I'm looking at chat, and it is moments like this where I'm reminded that there's not one way to do a thing, right? I
for
mean,
sure.
yeah, and so
Always.
we're doing it this way because madness, and feature creep, and we're just going wherever it takes us.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we're when I'm looking at how important things or elements are, like the creatures in the landscape, that can also
Mhm,
inform who lives there, and how they engage and interact with those. There's some thoughts here, like Tempo was talking about. I was thinking of giant fleas and ticks or other parasites. I had not really even thought about
mhm.
that because this is a giant dragon, so maybe there are some mites and.
Let's see. I think I actually wrote that down in one of my other, documents for this.
Oh,
Oh
nice,
goodness,
nice.
where did I put it? My Thursday Age ideas. Yes, here we go. Dragon Country. Let's see. Oop. Let's see. I had ideas for wells of power, places where maybe the dragon's strength is particularly concentrated, which there
Mhm.
certainly could have be a few places like that. I would suspect that the places where this dragon's strength is most concentrated is where people would usually end up building settlements.
Yeah.
So Etheria and Fornax are probably places where a lot of the dragon's strength is concentrated one way or another.
That makes a lot of
Let's
sense.
see. And I do like the idea of that Etheria in particular is on the spines that are like just between the shoulder blades and the oh goodness, and the extra limbs that from which the wings spread. Um,
Yes,
so there's a lot of that powerful muscle there
and you can
that
kind of
lets the dragon beat the wings, uh, that lets it
yes.
traverse worlds.
Very interesting. Yeah, I love that, and also just kind of at the center of its body, kind of. You know what I mean? Like at the core of its
Mhm,
existence.
for sure.
I mean, yeah, I like that. And
Yeah,
so yeah.
I found it here. Worm mites is what I wrote,
Oh, disgusting and awesome.
as in like WYRM, as in like dragon worm
Yeah.
mites,
Okay, so yeah,
horrid
that are
creatures.
just
Yeah.
that are up there flying
Horrid
around.
creatures that feed on the oh, yeah, consuming the flesh makes them powerful and deeply dangerous. They congregate
Interesting.
around places of power on the dragon's body, absorbing its strength to breed and grow. Old worm mites begin to resemble more traditionally sized dragons themselves.
Interesting. I like that a lot.
Maybe start to take on some draconic traits, getting their own
Yeah.
leathery wings and their own breath weapons.
Well, it makes sense to me that there would be that
Mhm.
kind of an evolution of being, on the body of a giant dragon.
Oh, yeah.
And let's see, what else did I see here? Oh yeah, yeah. Hi, Big Nate. Big Nate mentions that Gen
Mm.
Con broke some records with
That's what I
was that
hear. They sold out this year.
720,000? 720,000?
Crazy.
Wow,
Crazy.
it was huge. It was a big show for sure.
72,000 it looks like. 72,000 plus.
72,000. Okay, yeah, yeah.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot. Yeah, it was big. It was a big show. And, okay, so Angel brings up something too. I don't mean to
Hmm.
jump all around all over the place,
No, you're
but
good. Yep.
we're working with our
You out
partner.
there, you on the
Yeah,
other side of the screen, you're also writing this.
that's right. And, Angel mentions.
I'm expecting your first turn in, on the 23rd.
That's right. I love that. Angel mentions that because of the nature of where they live, that that they live in the mountains, that they would.
Mhm.
We talked a little bit about this last time, much like The Expanse, where you had, the Belters are different than the people who have grown up on the planet, and, there's just but they would have a higher lung capacity, yeah, but they'd have to operate in
Mhm.
thinner oxygen, and maybe they're even a more kind of a stout group, not because I don't know, because of the nature of it. What do you think?
Yeah, oh, there's, shoot, there is a very specific I do not remember the name of it, but, there is, like, a city on Earth that is considered, like, the highest elevation for a permanent settlement for humans, and, oh boy, I'm trying to find it. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, I love
The
this
death
Paul
zone
mentioned.
begins at 8,000 meters.
Oh, wow, okay, so they call it the death zone.
They call it the death zone. It is a
Just that.
mountaineering term.
All right, well, you gotta love a good
Let's
death
see.
zone. So, is our
It's,
premise that they live just beneath or within, or, like, where?
um, I would guess that for a big settlement, they would actually probably build it a bit farther down just for more folks' comfort. I would bet however, that the magical academy, the Puna, definitely keep their training facilities and observatories much higher.
Yeah, right, and there may be even some spiritual sort of, acknowledgement of people who can live up in this death zone in a way that, a normal person, let's say, would not be able to, just because of magics and,
Mm,
exposure
let's
perhaps.
see.
But this is, hang on one second.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is true. This is great. I love this. This is why I love these idea sessions,
Hey.
because low temp and high altitude, if you get sweaty, you get frozen. And
Mhm.
that's why it's a pejorative, because they really are offended by the notion, because were they to live in that way, they would die.
I like that
Um,
this is working out, that
yeah,
this
yeah.
is sort of playing together.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, I've never been in a situation yet. I'm looking forward to someday visiting someplace like Mexico City because of the altitude, and just to
Mm,
kind of, but there's altitude
interesting.
sickness, and one of the things that
Didn't
we
know it was
did
that
talk
high up.
about. Yeah, yeah, me either. One of
Mm,
the things that's interesting about this, we did talk about the fact that very seldom do the two interact because of the impact you know of the altitude, because they're accustomed to their kind of spaces. So we've got the general idea for some of the things you might run into. We've talked about
mm,
some of the more specifics around the kind of cultural touchstones, the sort of uh, magic folks that are kind of the seers, and the odd touched by an angel kind of thing. And then we've got some crime cartel elements, and of course there's going to be governance. We talked about maintenance type folk, that
mhm.
maybe there's some groups that kind of engage in that. But how do you go about starting to create the NPCs that introduce these ideas
Mm.
to the players?
Let's see. Guild leaders usually work pretty well.
Mhm.
Let's see. Although, let's see. It ultimately depends on how you want to do it for your campaign, and
Yeah.
making a theory feel big. I think it would be good to, let's see. Um, I find it major NPCs should deliver the character of a location or a setting,
Hmm.
um, and be individuals who can make things happen.
Ah,
Uh,
right, right.
yeah, so folks who've got, or at least like NPCs that you're going to give names to and sort of list them as faction leaders, like maybe the heads of family and the Chine clans, or the maybe the high seers of the Puna, or the, let's
Yeah.
see, you get some
And there's also
cheeky names for cartel leaders.
right, and then there's also sort of the cultists, and
Hmm.
the sort of people who understand the larger
Always
secret
those
of
guys.
things. Yeah, yeah, and we almost kind of forgot to mention those folks, but that's kind of an overarching theme of this space, is that there are kind of two factions. In addition to what happens in the cities and things, there
Hmm.
are people who want to wake the dragon, and people who want to continue to keep the dragon slumbering because that's where they live, and
Mhm.
uh, and it's kind of weirdly, I don't know, extractive, as all that may be. It kind of
Mhm.
sets the stage for an ongoing conflict that sort of keeps the engines of the civilization running, as far as at least as far as they're concerned,
Yes.
at the expense of this big old poor dragon. But yeah,
Mhm.
okay. So I like all of that. Now I'm imagining too, Ren, that there's an element of this that's about what is the story or what's the experience we want the players to have here versus um, other
Good question.
areas. Yeah, like how it. I guess that it also kind of depends on like when do people run into this city? Like, is it do we decide that it is kind of the player's choice and what decisions that they make as they come upon the dragon, or like the premise
Mhm.
of why they're there informs the who they'll meet, informs the what they'll be
For sure.
asked to do, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. We've, not gotten to the part of writing an adventure path, but I am available for hire. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, here
but,
we go. But yeah.
hey, here we go. I mean, we can, so going to Etheria, I think is, especially I guess, it would be interesting to find out if we, like, wrote an adventure in this particular setting where you would start. If you would start in Fornax or Etheria or some extra smaller place. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but if Etheria is maybe like a different place you go, it would very much be that the theme of the adventure I think would be oh goodness, what's a good word for it? Severity, I guess. Severity
Yeah.
is pretty good. Um, it's a severe people living in a severe place. Um, and I think that, that severity creeps into both their work and their play. Um,
Yeah. Oh,
and
I
let's
was
see.
I was
Yeah,
thinking too, like a deeply suspicious place. Because clearly the
for
people
sure.
who are gonna be playing aren't of either of the 2 cities. They're somehow visiting.
Quite
Now, would
possibly,
do you
yes.
think do you think that Etheria would have a way to interface with people that are outsiders, like, as a kinda perfunctory sort of
Mhm.
thing? Or would they be less interested in engaging and sort of a, "You better get interesting quick, or
Hmm.
we are gonna get icicled."
I could see either of those working. If we wanted players characters to have to have a relatively smooth way of getting in,
Yeah.
um, maybe it could be that, Etheria has had some pretty harsh what's the word? Some pretty harsh requirements for getting to, like, maybe visit specific parts of the city.
Oh, yeah.
They would I think that they would especially if they've gotten this big, they would probably be fools to not have sort of like a visitor center or
Yeah.
maybe like a quarter of the city where that is like where the southern gates are and that visitors come to see, um, trade for very unique things. Um, that all you can only get in Etheria, or even hopefuls who are wanting to come join the magical academies of the Puna and
Oh,
learn
yeah.
their secrets of divining the stars, um, and probably doing a lot of cold magic. Uh,
Oh, I
so
like that.
there's
Yeah,
oh yeah,
a kind
they're
of a place to
probably going to
manage
have a
the
lot of
palace intrigue.
people. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Um, No, you're good. So they're probably going to have visitors. I would suspect that, maybe at the very least you'd need some kind of pass to carry if you're going into other quarters of the city, or special permission, or maybe like an escort or something. Um,
Yeah.
and I would bet that that's a combination of sort of a natural suspicion, and maybe one or two instances of poaching or theft from outsiders who wanted to maybe take some unique materials that were mined in the spines, um,
Yeah.
'Cause I bet you that you can't get the I bet you that, this is such a different part of the dragon, you cannot get the same materials here that you can get in Fornax. Um, and surely Etheria is gonna wanna trade with Fornax, even just a little bit. No, no, yeah, I
Maybe,
don't think they're
yeah.
gonna talk about it very much. I
I
think
think it
they're
might
gonna
be,
keep it to that quarter, um,
yeah, yeah, almost a
and
gray
maybe
market,
consider it
kind of.
yeah, yeah, a necessary evil in some cases. Uh,
Yeah. There might even be
let's
rules
see.
and laws and things about how they
Mhm,
engage, and maybe there is maybe there is a trade between the 2 cities, but that it is facilitated by a third other entity or group,
mm,
or, that they're like,
that one.
never
Yeah,
the 2 shall meet, but there's, an
mhm.
intermediary of some kind, which
That
suggests
could be a good place for player characters to start.
yes. Yeah, because they could be, couriers of some kind or
Mhm,
hired for a job, and maybe the bulk of those outsiders, that's kind of seen as a great way for them to, and really maybe the only way to be useful to the 2
mhm,
societies, perhaps.
for sure.
That's great. Somebody reminded us, who was that? Yes, there's, Michael in chat, brings this up, and I think it's an important thread, that there are people who, like, maybe it's not, maybe it's not so much about belief, but they don't care. Like, they just, they're seeing this as the place that they live, and then there are people that, really understand the natural nature
Mhm.
of the beast, but, I think an interesting thing to kinda keep in mind as we look at the different social groups. What else have we got going on here in chat? Some really, really solid
There's a lot of
ideas.
stuff going through chat. Honestly, we could probably be filling we could be filling almost half of the show with what you folks are
Yeah,
picking up.
exactly.
There's some good stuff in here.
Really? So we're looking at, so Paul mentions the idea some elemental air magic. Yeah,
I was just
yeah,
looking at that one.
that's really good. I like that. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I am reminded of Dune, and for some reason, I don't. This is just this is just me being dumb, but I imagine you come to visit the space or the city or whatever, and you
mhm.
get the sort of mustachioed man, opening up the little door, to the Wizard of Oz, kind of space, and but that's a horse of a different color. They're certainly not that silly. Let's
My
see.
head went straight to, Mel Brooks and Spaceballs. There is no air shortage. Okay, thank you. Opens up the drawer with the cans of air.
Right. Right, I love that. And I do kind of, it is sort of an interesting notion to have sort of the city before the city, which is a smaller, sort of where the
Mhm,
palace intrigues are, but that's really a barrier to the deeper, sort of, what's behind the curtain, which is, this, all of the things that we've been talking about.
mhm,
Paul mentions this, kind of a walled inner city surrounded by a larger sprawl, and the idea is that if you strike it big, you can buy access to the comfort and security of the inner
mm,
city. Okay, I like that. It would make cultural sense, perhaps, that
mhm.
the notion that true hard work opens doors for you, and the more of that hard work you do, I mean,
I
what
like
do you
the
think?
metaphor. I really like the metaphor of the sort of the multi-walled city where the outside is sort of like a public face, and then the core is, lets you the core is letting you further into the heart, uh, and, of the people, which I think end up which I think could be a really fun, theme for the NPCs and sort of like the normal people that you meet, uh, that maybe they're very guarded with people that they don't know, just because they don't
Yeah,
know what you want, and they're still trying to size you up, but maybe once they become friends or family that, that's your let's see, it's a fun way they could say it. Maybe
well,
that,
yeah.
like, that the ice binds us together,
Ice binds is, I can hear a
you know
handshake agreement.
yeah, one of the old adventures from the Dragon Age RPG, shoot, it was what I think it's was Where Eagle's Lair, um, has an encounter, I think, that takes place along some mountaintops that have ice bridges that form between them in the cold
Mm,
months, that melt in the warmer months, um and, and there's some symbolism in there. I
there
need to
is.
dig into it, but, I like the idea of, like, the two mountains kissing like that, or the two mountains touching each other and binding together with through the ice. I
Very
think there's something
interesting.
there. There's
There
something
is
there
something there, and I think it might even, tie in well with the festival, because
for sure.
as a cyclical seasonal kind of thing, maybe there is it's an acknowledgement of the necessity of connection and, all of that, and
Hmm.
maybe that is, kind of where the understanding that they need a way to interact with people who are from the outside, but be very
Hmm.
guarded and protect the kind of core of their culture and city and
Hmm.
stuff. But I'll tell you this
For
very
sure.
interesting, thing that kind of I think too it strikes me that the more that we spend time kind of thinking about the human condition
Hmm.
and how people react culturally to visitors, outsiders, and things. I spent quite a bit of time in China,
Mm.
and in Shanghai, there were the amount of people in this space. It was shocking. I mean, it was almost, crossing the streets are massive, and crossing the streets that you're crossing with 200 other people, and
Hmm.
the hierarchy of vehicle to human is in effect. Like the big
Gotcha.
buses versus the trucks versus the cars versus the mopeds versus the bicycles, and then people, and the people were at the very bottom
Hmm.
of that. And if people in China don't know you, they they don't see you, and I would imagine
Gotcha.
that that makes some sense. The sheer volume of humans that are walking, you got to worry about yourself. And
Hmm.
so I found ways to sort of mitigate my stress on that by getting right into the middle of the group and kind of going with them across the street,
Okay.
and kind of not knowing exactly how kind of things worked, and there were definitely some differences. But when people in China, when they get to know you, and there's an if you've eaten with them, they will. It's almost like they adopt you. They take a very paternal kind of, or it basically feels very parental. Like
Gotcha.
they will. And if you going there, it was amazing. It was lovely. I would definitely go back. Wonderful
Hmm.
people, food. The whole thing was incredible. Um, but it was very interesting to me to see that, like, I kind of had this vision of, well, I'm here. I can go anywhere. I can go to the fishing village, and I can go to a small market, or I can do those things. And once, when I made connections with a few different people that lived there, every single one of them were like, "Where are you going today? What are you doing?
Mm.
We're going to
Okay.
go with you," or "Do not buy anything." They would tell me, "Don't,"
Oh.
and when I came back from a market called Tianzifang, people were like, What is that? What do you have?" And it was sort of like, for some reason, they
Okay.
they have a deep love for Obama, and so there's like Club Obama and like Obama
Huh.
merchandise and very interesting stuff. Cool.
Fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, very, very fascinating. But they were very angry that I bought this stuff, because they told me I was getting robbed, and we're going the next day, and
Mm.
we're gonna talk to that person. And they did, and we did, and we went down, and and so I kind of felt
Okay.
almost like they kind of felt like a child, like, you don't know what you're doing, you're wasting all this money, and but
Gotcha.
it was very endearing. It was very sweet, but I could imagine
Hmm.
elements
They're
of
watching
that.
out for you. Yeah. I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
That's lovely.
And yeah, it really was, and I can imagine that kind of a vibe where you can maybe there's mechanisms of connection, somehow, where you
Hmm.
are
For
proving
sure.
your connection, or what you're doing, that you are a good actor. You're not there to kind of cause them grief or drama. And if you pass
Hmm.
a certain level, that you are able to then move a little freely, or at least not be under deep suspicion every time you move around, or something. It might be a space for a one of for an adventure game engine mechanic of some kind. Like a relationship
Mm. Okay.
mechanic, or
We do have ties and bonds, and
Mhm.
let's see. Well, yes, I'm thinking about ties and goals, but yes, we are relationships very much. Uh,
Yeah,
Blue
yeah, Blue
Rose, Dragon
Rose.
Age, they're in Fantasy Age. They're in the core book, right? I believe that's
Yeah,
correct.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, they are. And I don't have my core book open, but I want to say that, Stan says I'm late. We're not talking about the Dragon Mouth City anymore, are we? We are indeed, my friend. But
You
it's
know,
more than that.
we're adjacent to it, but
Yeah, we're talking about populating at least one for now, or at least kicking off a bit of the design intention behind the groups and individuals that will populate these spaces,
Here we go.
which I like. The maw is for another time. Yeah, exactly. This is for the
Page
spine sit.
176 of the core rulebook for
Ooh.
relationships.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Lay it on us.
Let's see. Oh yeah, it's you can do it in step 9 of character creation, see goals and ties, chapter 1, character creation. But
Mhm.
the relationship rules is basically when you make your character, you pick you choose a number of NPCs, or I think they still do it in here, correct? Unusual relationships. No, okay. Um, but the relationships are you can establish with let's say, well, in here, I think that it looks like you mostly do it with specific people. Although I think in the first edition companion, they do mention that you can do it with like organizations or maybe like a specific group of people. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I think like at the least in my fantasy age game, my group, I believe, all had a relationship that was like us, the in group, the inner circle of people,
Yeah.
my party companions, the four other weirdos that I do my adventures with.
Right,
Um,
right.
and then they would have specific specific relationships for like maybe one of their parents or one of their or their significant others, or very important contacts. Relationships is definitely for like the people who are most important. Um, and I think it would come up a lot more often than you would expect in Etheria, uh, because I think that they're very much like folks who are no, because I don't think, at least for the human condition, I couldn't really speak for like uh the orc condition or the elven condition or the dwarven condition. But
Right,
at least for the human condition, which I think we end up writing a lot of other ancestries very much like us, just because that's what we know. Maybe with some slight perspective changes, but we're all social creatures. One of the
right.
things that we need is social connection, partially because it's good for survival and also feels really nice. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
it's good for survival because if you have communities, then we can all come together, put resources together. We can support each other when things are going bad. We can celebrate each other when things are going good. Um,
And help each
so
other,
I
right,
guess so.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. And that maybe in a and maybe in Etheria you could also definitely have. I'm pretty sure relationships don't all have to be positive ones. They can all
yes, yes.
they can also be negative relationships, of which I think a couple of my player characters did have. Let's see. Okay. It's a little bit, what's the word? It's a little bit pared down from the one in the Fantasy Age companion, although I'm sure that you could that might just be because they ran out of space, not necessarily because they didn't want it there. Um,
Yeah,
It could only fit so much in the core rulebook. There's plenty of
truth.
stuff to get in here, but um, I would not be surprised that Ethereans could also maybe, if that maybe their trust is hard won, and that if that trust is won and then lost,
It's even
that
harder, but yeah,
their yeah, that their enmity is equally severe to their love.
I like that
So
a lot.
negative, yeah, some nemesis, some negative relationships. I mean, they give you extra stun points that you can spend based on the intensity of that relationship, and that intensity, I believe, goes from 1 to 5, if I'm not mistaken. With a 1 point relationship still being pretty significant, like that. That person means a lot to you. Um, with 5, meaning that, you understand them in a way that few others will ever hope to understand them, um, for
Right.
good or ill, whether that means
Yes.
that you will duel at the mountaintop tomorrow. Um,
Exploit what you know because you loathe them so.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Something I'm thinking about as well, just kind of looking, pondering the library of games powered by the Adventure Game Engine. One of
Mhm.
I think that there might be some inspiration for us on the organizational side of things from
Mm.
Cthulhu Awakens. I think that there are
Okay.
some organizational sort of connections that you can have that kind of contribute
Yes.
to, yeah, yeah, and
There's some
It's
specific there the relationships I think are a bit more varied in Cthulhu Awakens, and I think they do that for Modern Age as well, if I'm not mistaken. Um, that they
oh, my
have,
book is just out of reach here,
mhm,
but yeah, I think that there are some influences that we can kind of put together when we look at what these groups are. If you unlock the secret of of what's going on with
mhm,
the more spiritual, high altitude pals, or the trade groups, or the cartel, even that there
mhm,
be some benefits that might be open to you. Like, I could imagine if your friends, and I'm imagining too that there are some connection between the cartels of both cities, that they
gotcha.
have ways. But
I would
like,
not be surprised if the cartel in this city looks an awful lot like the one in Fornax, if
right?
they're not the same organization, they very well could
Which
be.
yeah, I mean, that would be a very fun thing to uncover. But
Mhm,
also, if you
for
have an
sure.
affinity or a connection with the cartel, that
Mhm,
there may be the benefits or the bonuses for those relationships are things like easy to get in and out of places, because you know the
mhm.
back door. That
You
that
know a
kind of
guy.
a, yeah, yeah, exactly. Or if you need a
You know a guy.
thing, yeah, you know a guy. You know a guy. I like that a lot. Let's see. Yeah, Stan says,
That's where
it sounds like you could.
that context talent comes into play.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Stan says, it sounds like you could write a good set of supplemental rules for communities that run on this kind of close relationships. Maybe something for an article in the think tank, or even, yeah, an article for the engine. Little bits and pieces that we
Mhm,
could kind of share as, and I, for folks that are kind of just wrapping their head around what we're doing here. I don't say, I think the end goal here is not necessarily that we're done with the thing, but
mhm,
that we are exploring the ways that we can utilize the different tool sets and things within the age
mhm,
system to create this
for
world.
sure.
Maybe we do get far along, and then suddenly we've got a whole new line, and all those sorts of opportunities. But
Mm,
that really is the purpose of all this, is really what we're doing now. It's the conversation and the
mhm.
exploration and the learning. For me personally, being
Yeah,
able to sit down with folks like Ren, who have developed worlds and have published things under the adventure game engine. That's my hope, is to draw inspiration for that as I hone my own craft. So, and hopefully that people who watch get to do the same.
mhm.
So there you go.
Yeah, thought just occurred to me that we've
Yes.
got, these 2 if we wanted to give each of these cities a very different feel, it just occurred to me that, you've got these 2 mechanics that don't mix well together, but maybe could be fun for doing in separate cities. Um, maybe if when going into Fornax or Etheria, the GM informs you that we use the peril mechanic, but when you go to the other city, we use the daring mechanic. And, it could be, from the Fantasy Age core rulebook, could be very that could be a fun way to sorta get a little bit of,
Yeah.
immediate buy-in on the sort of vibe of each of these cities.
Well, then also, providing different, like, character types opportunities to do things differently. Maybe you would depend more
Mhm,
on members of the party that that were more skilled or proficient. But I like that a lot.
yeah,
Um, let's see here, checking our chat real fast. Paul says, let's see, I like the idea of
mm,
community or interreliance being the theme for the spine as well. When it's the severe environment and a strong sense of us and them, you've got to be able to rely on those with you. Yeah, yeah, that those bonds are really strong once you make them. But I also love the idea that, and once you break them, that
mhm.
there's a whole new
Ooh,
measurement of betrayal. And yeah, yeah,
oh,
there.
man. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
Severe enough
This.
betrayal, you can yeah, a severe enough betrayal, you could probably leave maybe if there was a bond there, you could relieve the relationship at the same, intensity, but just change the nature of the bond. Um,
With a measure in
let's see.
the opposite direction. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, just do a quick flip.
Yeah, yeah, I like that a lot. And there, it would be interesting too, at some point, to hear from you what you think that those what are the lines that you don't cross,
Mm.
maybe socially
Oh,
or
here in Etheria, huh? Yeah.
yeah, like what, it'd be very interesting to kind of see what that might look like. Now, but oh my gosh, I'm looking at the time and,
Been shooting the breeze on this. Yeah, yeah, there's a
well,
lot to talk about.
hey, Jeremiah, good to see you, friend. Glad you were able to join us. Jeremiah, of course, a friend of Green O'Neill and someone whom I
Mm.
love watching on TikTok. I really enjoy their content a great deal. And we got a chance to really connect at, I keep wanting to say
Mm.
PAX, but it wasn't PAX, it was Gen Con. Okay, so
Hoping to be there
just
next year.
yeah, oh, that would be lovely. Perhaps even showing off, sort of a new encounter where people are exploring the body of a ginormous dragon in the two cities that
Maybe. Hey, maybe that's what
visit.
we're doing.
But question for you. So, um, we've had a lot of opportunity for brainstorming kind of stuff, and that's all towards the better kind of compilation of our ideas and to string
Mhm,
together some of the things that inform the culture and the nature of the people that live in the space.
mhm,
What are your thoughts? What are some of the things that you kind of have glommed onto that you are feeling like, oh yeah, 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 this is a fit, and
mhm.
how that informs the kind of people that you want to populate the space with?
I think that the relationship mechanic would differ very much be importance to an Etherean adventure. It's, I think that, in a cold, hard place, people don't want to shun connections. They want to know that the people around them can be trusted. Um, so that when they find their people, they hold them very tight, and they make sure that they're okay. They get them warm food. They get them a warm place to sleep. Um, let's see. I think that an Etherean adventure would also be, I think that maybe more so than Fornax, just because cold is not so present in Fornax that the air itself can can kill you if you're not being careful. Um, let's see, or if you've lost community and perhaps are out alone with nowhere to stay, that
Hmm.
that the cold, that the cold takes, that the spines and the snow and the wind and the stars take, and that there's kind of like a duality of a cold and warm, that warmth representing that sort of connection and that safety. Um, but maybe that there's a little bit of like a cultural understanding, that a cultural sort of, maybe not understanding, but maybe like an egging on, because I feel like there could be a little bit of like a purity culture situation in here, that
Yeah,
people who are not bothered by the cold are strong and good.
yeah,
People who don't need the warmth, are very cool and strong and smart, and they've never been hurt before. Um,
yeah. Right, right, right. Oh, maybe too.
and
I
yeah,
could.
there's a little bit of toxicity in there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's what leaders love to do, unfortunately. Um,
Truth, yeah,
they've got
and
to
the notion
project
that
strength.
warmth is fleeting,
Mhm, and
you know?
indulgent.
Yeah, indulgent, and in the notion that, while we may come from warmth and, when you think about, sort of the, birth and that all of that stuff, but that the cold when you said the cold takes, that I
Mhm,
could just really I could feel that, like, it just felt like an existential, like, you know,
mhm,
what, what we do here, we survive in this space, and we do these things, or the cold takes.
mhm,
I like that a lot. Yeah,
for sure.
it's sort of it's not quite nihilism, because
Yes.
they're thriving, they're wanting to,
Yeah.
sort of feel a
It's
bit of warmth.
survival,
Yes,
it's,
yeah,
and I think that there's an undercurrent culturally of wanting to conquer the cold, um,
yeah,
that it's
yeah,
such an omnipresent and very omnipresent threat for anybody, that, fighting it away or not being bothered by it in the first place. If you cast the immunity to cold spell, that one
There you
that's a nice one to have here in Etheria.
Right,
And I'll
right.
bet you it comes at a premium for many mage for hire.
Right, or even some of the higher
Or that
level,
spell
you know,
lasts.
sort of priests of the spire, but,
Okay.
oh, you know something I was thinking
One
as well?
encounter.
I love this idea that the cold, the frozenness of it all is actually kind
Mhm.
of a character of its own, you know,
For
it's a
sure.
yeah, yeah, very, very interesting. Um,
I wrote a mythical a sort of like founder spiritual founder figure. I didn't get to talk about her, but,
oh, well
we can do it we can save her for later.
well,
Um,
how about we do
uh,
this? Why don't
yeah.
you so we did start maybe like 5 minutes late, so let's maybe just, give 5 minutes of, what have you
Okay.
got, developed in the
Yeah.
idea of some of these NPCs and people?
I had a handful of ideas. I pulled up a name generator and, picked a specific theme and started generating some names.
Ooh,
Um,
I like
and I actually went with, oh, what was it? I think I went with, Norman with, what was it? Norman names, like, like folks from Normandy.
oh,
Um,
sure, sure.
it it had a really nice, there's a really beautiful cadence there, and there's a little bit of, French, a little bit of English, and a little bit of Germanic, and a little bit of Norse all in it.
Okay.
So you get a lot of variety in it. Um, but I made this sort of spiritual founder figure, this mage of divination, cold, Beaumont.
Okay.
Uh, let's see. Oop, and I misspelled the word old. I swear I'm a professional writer. Here we go. Um, exiled from a distant land for proclaiming futures she saw in the stars. Uh, Those exactly why she is was exiled is debated as to how she came to be where Etheria would stand in the future. She did not intend to create a city-state, but rather sought a place where she could understand her divinations more fully. The high altitude and unfettered access to the night sky proved extremely potent for her divination powers, and many of her magical techniques are now common practice in Etheria. She was
Love
known
it.
to be a distant survivalist who saw her visions as a calling to something greater, something divine. She was a severe leader, delivering hard truths to her visitors, from her visions, and having little patience for those who discounted her visions for personal convenience. She vanished later in life, having drawn together a community of fellow exiles and those who sought her out for her talents. Supposedly, she saw one last vision that called her away on a venture she never returned from.
Oh, interesting. I love that. And that actually, I think, I hadn't really thought about this aspect of it, but the where we come from really informs the who of it all and what we believe and how things have grown. Fascinating. I love that.
hmm I figured that she would make a really good sort of like cultural kernel, if that makes sense. Uh,
Yeah, it does. It
that
absolutely
people would
does.
look, yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Thank you, Stan. I do appreciate that. Uh,
Exactly. I do like that a
I can
lot. And
spell
it's
quintessence just fine, but old was beyond me.
I love it. It does remind me too that not your typo, but the notion of they're really starting the mystery from the outset, that there
Mhm.
are deeper things to discover, which makes it fun for people who are going to, as a party explore this, but also for people that might want to write their own elements, or
Oh, for
create sort
sure.
of a backstory, kind of leaving these hooks in the historical
I
records.
have yeah, oh yeah, writing a setting book is very largely, leaving a lot of blank spots and, fuzzy edges on the map for, GMs to fill in however they like. I
Mhm.
usually, and especially in this case, I do have a very specific idea of what I think has happened to her,
Yeah,
but, that could come up in an adventure I write, but that might not be an adventure you write, so,
right.
uh whatever happens to the first Beaumont is really up to GMs.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And yeah, okay. So of course now we are at nearly a full hour of this
Mhm,
conversation, and we won't take too much longer. But one of the things that strikes me, and this is, I think, a problem that is evidenced by the fact of what we're talking about now, and that is
Mhm.
there's the risk of feature creep, of kind of building and continuing to build until you are like the Winchester home of stairs and windows and things. And so, what do you do? I come to you looking for advice. What do you do to sort of rein in that element? Because there are three of us, and all three of us are very creative.
Mhm.
So, it really does boil down to what Michael in chat asks, which is what's next. How do we
What's next?
yeah, how do we define that in a way that allows for the creativity to flow, but not so much so that we need to, have another dragon suddenly.
You know, there's always a point when you're world building where you have to tell yourself to stop. Uh,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
um, I mean, if you're trying to create a setting for other people to use, having lots and lots of potential hooks to work with can be very useful. Um, and it can also be very important for the GMs writing their adventures to remember that they don't have to use all of it. Uh, you can
Right.
use just the parts of it that are important to your story and your adventure. Um, roping all of that other stuff in can be very fun. It can be very exciting and very rewarding when you're at the end of it. But you know, uh, you'll also risk losing clarity or losing the themes that you
Yeah.
started with.
Yeah, yeah, watering down, there's only so many great ideas that you can incorporate, and then you maybe lose focus, or it just becomes a little top heavy. Even just for people, like
Hmm.
you'd have to sit down and watch every one of the episodes of this creative collaboration series to understand what it is what we build. But okay, very
Hmm.
interesting. Let's take just a couple questions from folks in chat.
Sounds good.
Um, Let's see. Yeah, some folks like Tempo was talking about it being a good adventure hook, but also just a concept that I think is interesting for us to carry through this project, and that is even the mechanisms
Hmm.
and things that we borrow or create should be fashioned in a way that a person could go, "I'm going to borrow that," and make it
Hmm.
easy to do so. Um, Yes, as I was talking about the mystery house. Tempo says, "I'm really curious about how different Sage is compared to Age." Well, that's a conversation for another time that's coming very soon, for sure. I think that when we ask the question, "What's next?" Maybe what we do is you and, the Duke and I, maybe we just have a quick get together and talk about sort of what we want to share with folks on the next episode, as it relates specifically to the personalities and powers within each of the cities, and find some fun
Hmm.
ways, and then share with that, kind of why we went the direction that we did, and
Hmm.
then maybe we talk a little bit about sort of what the so we've got some people. Where do they live? What are the spaces that you would encounter them in, and what do they look like? And
Mm.
is there is it, what does that inner or that outer sort of city element feel like, and how do you get into the inner city? But
Hmm.
uh yeah, lots of and yeah, and of course I think how does the gravy flow in a space that's very cold? Really dark magics,
I
I'm
don't
presuming.
know. That gravy stuff is sounding kind of sweaty.
Yes, it sounds like in baby. Yeah. And Jeremiah mentioned earlier, what do people eat? And I think that might be a
Mm.
great conversation that we can have, next week, just to really just say, what do they eat and how do they get it? And what is
Hmm.
the methodology and how
Fair
important is
question.
gravy? All that stuff.
How important is gravy, really?
Very. I mean, honestly, if you were at one
Extremely.
extremely, yeah. Um, I like this is great. Very true, Stan. I think this is a good way to think of a world building starts with adding more and more, but it finishes with refining, kind of cutting away the bits until you have that perfect kind of bite, if you
I like
will.
that phrase. It's a good
Yeah,
phrase.
absolutely. Ren, what I love about this series is that at the end of each episode, I have a million directions, I'll be frank, I'm starting to feel a little sweaty thinking about all the different ideas and things. But
Hmm.
a lot of fun, and I feel like each one of these little sort of moments, an hour spent kind of fleshing out the space in publicly, and then engaging, friends in chat for elements and ideas and things, is it's a big thing, but it's fun. It's a really
Mhm.
great opportunity. So thank you for hanging
For
out
sure.
and loaning your expertise as as a part of the series. And yeah, I think that we'll get together in between our Thursdays and
Mhm.
talk about sort of maybe fast forward a few of the elements for each of the cities that you and Duke can kind of say,
Yeah,
"Hey, I've got this, and here's how what we've discussed has informed these choices that I've made." Sound good?
absolutely.
Fantastic. Hey, friends,
Looking
real
forward to
quick.
it.
Yeah, it'll be a blast. And Duke, looking forward to having you as part of the conversation, even though you've been with us both in spirit and in chat, which I think is great. Real quickly, so we have the Atomic Think Tank. We're going to open up a little space within the Atomic Think Tank at atomicthinktank.com for some of the ideas and things here, so that maybe if you were sitting on an idea and you feel like weren't able to necessarily communicate it as well in chat, I'll set that up here shortly.
That's an
And
excellent idea, I think.
yeah, right. I mean, just a place to kind of capture some of this creative overflow between
Mhm.
Thursdays. And then what else do we have? Hey, tonight in only well, it's 4:11 now. Of course, I said at 4:05 we'll wrap it up. But get tanked with Troy. What this means is it's office hours. You come and hang out with me. It's a Zoom chat. Everybody pops in, and we do some business. So if there are things or elements or stuff, or maybe you were waiting for something from me, and I have been recalcitrant and I've not gotten it to you, you can stop by there and let me know. Or you've got a new idea, or you want to just hang out and talk a little bit about the conversation in Thursday, or maybe you got something entirely different. The space is meant for us to traverse all of the subjects and give each person an opportunity to share if they've come with something, or just to shoot it with everybody else and have some fun talking about the weird things that we've talked about. It is quite a good time, and I really enjoy it. And it's and again, you're welcome to join, even if you just want to lurk. You don't necessarily have something that you want to dive in and share. Cameras on, cameras off, whatever works. But if you just want to hang out with some TTRPG nerds that talk about really everything and ultimately sometimes nothing, sometimes that's the best conversation to have. You are
I
welcome to
agree.
join. Yeah, absolutely. Just it's a good time. I do enjoy it, and also, yeah, just a reminder. The grad is now part of the Green Ronin, kind of the official Discord for Green Ronin, and it's a wonderful place to stop by. We'll probably want to park some of this creative endeavor in that space as well. You may not know this, friends, because you can't see it, but we have a little Thursday planning room that we use. So over in the Discord. So maybe we'll have elements of this discussion there as well. Do be sure to join and hang out. It's a lot of fun. And just as a reminder that we've got the hey Ren, hi. Um, we've got the release event coming up on the 23rd. It'll be a live stream. We'll have the authors that contributed to engine number 3, and engine number 3 will be available at some point soon. Of course,
Soon.
we've got a list of the VIPs, friends, a family, if you will, of Green Ronin that get a little early look at this, and they'll be able to talk about what they see inside. But then you'll be able to join us. We'll have the authors. We'll have Malcolm Shepard. We'll have Steve Kenson, the architect of Sage, and it'll be a great time. So mark it on your calendar. Make some space in your life to come hang out. It'll be a ton of fun, I guarantee. And if not fun for you, then there's possibly, something amiss with your brain.
Get some mirth in your life.
It's a mirth.
Get
Yes.
this guy some mirth.
Quick stats 10 cc's of mirth. All right, again, Ren, thank you very much for hanging out, and I really thank the chat for being so engaged and for providing, they really, honestly, truly a round of applause. And I am Disembodied Troy. Of course, I work with Green Ronin Publishing, and this has been an official stream from Green Ronin. And we'll be back on Monday for Mutants and Masterminds Monday. It's going to be a good one if you are somebody who has really enjoyed playing around with 4th edition. Then it's going to be the place you want to hang out, because we'll have discussions about that and much, much more. With that, I bid you all farewell. Have a great rest of your week. And don't forget to join us in the Atomic Think Tank to share some of this creative overflow from this lovely episode of Thursday. Take care, everyone.